Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani. I have with me in the studio once again Feranmi, Iyanda, Program Director, Step Up Nigeria. You're welcome once again.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great. You said something that is rather troubling in the first discussion we had last time on where you said that young people in this country are making up their mind that honesty does not pay. And you also observe that if the leaders are stealing 50-60% of the money meant for projects today, the young people that are coming up are more daring. They are likely to take the whole thing, 100%. And then you mentioned that corruption does have its victims.
Yes.
Which I think a lot of people can't see that link. The link between causes and effects.
Yes.
That you are corrupt, you do corrupt things, well, there are people die as a result. What do you think we can do? I mean, various agencies, churches, mosques, agencies like Step Up Nigeria, groups, networks like Behavioral Change Cohort, all kinds of groups. Let's discuss more positively what we can do.
I might have a very long answer because I think tackling corruption, because it has a whole of society effect, it will require a whole of society approach to solving the problem. And by whole of society, I mean a top-down solution across society. One organization, one agency, whether government or civil society or religious organization, is not sufficient to solve the depth and the breadth of the problem. It will require all stakeholders, all actors, nationally and those who work internationally, to come together to arrive at a situation or a solution to this problem. We can start from the state actors, which refers to government. Government in itself, and it's unfortunate that, of course, the legislative arm of government is not as efficient in delivering the kind of legislation required to curb corruption. But government itself needs to reform. And we do need the kind of leadership that would say XYZ needs to change. We need to pass an audit bill. The audit bill has been on and off, and the audit bill gives more powers to the Office of the General to actually audit government offices and actually punish people who are found to have accounts that do not balance. But we have refused to pass such laws. We will call for things like the audit bill to be passed. So government has to be able to regulate itself for the executive to be checked and balanced by the judiciary and the legislature, which is something that is still lacking in governance as we see now. But we look at non-state actors who I think are even more powerful. We look at religious bodies. I definitely think that the church and the mosques, and I would say particularly the church because I'm a Christian, has the responsibility to build believers who are true to their faith. It is a bit disconcerting that we have many Nigerians. We're a very religious country. So how do we go to church on Sundays and hear that God does not like stealing and God cares for the poor and the widowed and the orphaned? But we are the same people who go and...
I have a reason for it.
Yes, sir.
The reason is the kind of gospel being preached.
Yes, absolutely.
If you have the prosperity gospel being preached,
sir.
it does not encourage people to sacrifice.
Yes.
It does not encourage people to have deferred gratification.
Yes.
Or think of the poor.
Yes.
So people are going to church.
But what are they listening to?
Or what are they hearing?
I agree with you completely, sir. And that's why I said particularly the church. We are responsible. When you tell people that God is a means to make wealth and have gain, then you make people even do the criminal things required to get that wealth and their gain. And people, unfortunately, are sowing seeds of that illicit activity even in the house of God. So I think religious bodies, because of how religious we are as a nation, I think we have a primary responsibility week in, week out, to stick to what God has said and to encourage people to live a life of servitude, of service, a life of contentment, and a remembrance that none of us are going to. We came into this world with nothing and we will live with nothing. So this carrying of wealth.
Thank you very much. And let my colleagues, preachers, recognize that the church is not meant to be a place where you tell people what they want to hear.
Yes. Yes.
Now, because the kind of preaching that is very popular in Nigeria is the preaching people want to hear.
Yes.
You become a millionaire and everybody shouts amen.
All your problems will be solved.
No, that's not. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's not the gospel of Christ.
Yeah.
The gospel of Christ is it's such that, you want to follow me, carry your cross. That's the true
Absolutely.
gospel.
Absolutely.
And the gospel of Christ is not as attractive as people are presenting it to be, because it's about sacrifice, it's about pain, it's about deferred gratification, suffer today
sharing in
to
the
enjoy
sufferings of
tomorrow,
Christ.
not enjoy today. So if we preach the right gospel, there is no way somebody who goes to church regularly will be stealing,
Absolutely.
will be embezzling.
Absolutely.
No.
Yes.
What is clear? Jesus says, by their fruits
You will
shall know
them.
them.
I agree, and I think that's why I'm emphasizing on the. I think the prosperity gospel has done more harm
It has
politically
a lot of damage.
and for the growth of corruption in Nigeria over the last 20-30 years. And so we have to take responsibility for raising the kind of Christians who find living a corrupt life comfortable and still going to church on Sundays. So that must also change. Beyond the religious institutions, I think we also need to look at the education system, and this includes all stakeholders: Ministry of Education, Basic Education Commission, Basic Education Boards, teachers training institutes, across board. And I'll start with the teachers, because we cannot have teachers in classrooms today who themselves are not role models for a life that a child wants to emulate. We have teachers who are asking children to tell their parents to bring money from home so that they can help them with their assignments or pass them in exams.
Meaning how we value teachers, what we pay them. Very important.
Yes.
I mean, when teachers are destitute, they cannot be role models for children.
The children, yes. And so even the education system, I think I saw in the news yesterday, one of our state governors has just increased the pay for teachers in his state. It has to start from there. But we need role models, even in how teachers are trained. We need to ensure that they are learning that even in mathematics and in science, that they can teach values and entrench values into how the curriculum is being taught. But this also needs federal backing. We need the ministry and the curriculum departments at the Universal Basic Education Commission to look at the curriculum and say, what are the topics in citizenship education, in civic education, social studies, security education, that we can clearly, not vaguely to just say do the right thing, throw trash in the dustbin, but clearly put these case studies, these scenarios that we spoke about the last time, that clearly show the cause and effect of corruption and the cause and effect of integrity. There are countries Nigerians want to jackpot to. We want to go there. Do we think they get away with the kind of impunity that we do?
In the On Nigeria One project, Terra did something on the cost of corruption that showed, the destitute villages, the school, what they call schools that are really not schools in remote parts of this country, that show the slums where there is no sanitation, no water, no electricity, all scattered around this country. And we presented it as the cost of corruption. You see? So I think a lot of those things need to be spread out more. Let people see that the resources of this country, they are meant for the people of this country. And a situation where a few, maybe less than 5% of the Nigerian population, really, less than 10 million of Nigerian people really maybe enjoy 95% of the resources of this country. And the remaining, and the remaining 95% of the people are meant to struggle for 5% of the resources of it. That is unfair, that is unjust.
Unjust, indeed. Like you're saying, there's an unfortunate imbalance in society that perpetuates corruption. Before I continue in terms of the actors who should be responsible for change, I do want to harp on a point that you've made around how the economic factors have made corruption also more difficult to tackle. And we did discuss this yesterday. It is unfortunate that because, like you said, 95% of our wealth has been swallowed by a 5%, and the rest of us are scrambling for that 5%. A poor man does not make the very best decision. I don't just mean poor because they don't have. I mean someone who has absolutely no means. You've taken away their opportunity to get access to education. They don't even have clean water, so they have health issues. There's no primary health care to meet their needs. And so, but they have children. They are hungry. There are people who are almost forced, who would never have gone into a life of criminality if there were other alternatives. Again, it goes back to a leadership problem that we are yet unable to solve. But I think as a society, we need to look at that camaraderie that we used to have, that thinking of my neighbor. We have lost empathy as a people. I say this all the time. It's unfortunate that society, because we are scrambling again for that 5%, everybody's thinking of only myself. May this favor me and my family. And so if me and my family are fine, then you and your family, anything that happens to you is your business. And so we have this in selfishness that we have learned, that allows us to only make decisions that accommodate only our own immediate family and forget about everybody else. It fits into why corruption persists as well, because you're able to say, as long as I can send my children abroad, the people who I am denying that right by not spending money appropriately, that's their business.
And that is so strange for African society.
Yes.
You see, the African society was known by the concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. So the African society, traditional African society, and I'm talking of a society that existed up to the last 60, 70 years in this country. The society into which I was born, you don't progress alone. You progress along with your community. And so the idea of me, myself, and I is very strange to us. And yet today it is me, myself, and I. You can even see it in the way houses are built and estates are built with walls, walling off one-bedroom flat, walling off two-bedroom flat, walling off. So you are not concerned about your neighbor. You don't even see your neighbor.
And that has been a fundamental reason why we are here. Even when it comes to tackling corruption, there has thankfully been an increase in the number of voices over the last couple of years, and maybe All Nigeria supported that process. But even there's an apathy even to involve yourself in this advocacy for good governance, because for those who are well-to-do, or at least managing middle-income homes, as long as my family can eat, I can send my children to school, the rest of you can go and fight for us that are not hungry. But if the rich cannot fight for the poor, if the middle class does not join the poor in advocacy, then that camaraderie, that's why there's still so much division, because we still see ourselves as different people in society and not as a collective of Nigerians. And so that empathy, it's a fundamental right we see in other parts of the world where Nigerians are rushing to Jakarta to go to. They care. If they hear a shout in their neighbor's house, they call police. People are active, they are learning. They do not block people unnecessarily. People are concerned about how my neighbor lives. How do we get ourselves back to that place where we are thinking of my neighbor? Again, it takes us back to faith-based organizations and also schools, the education system. How are children being taught? I gave an example in our meeting yesterday about one of our young champions that we're working with in the schools. She was 8 years old at the time, and we're training them on integrity and values. You can work hard, you can read to pass exam, you don't need to cheat. And in one exam, she finds 2 boys in her class cheating. As someone trained, she talks to her teacher that these 2 boys are cheating. They were sanctioned. Before that, the boys had bribed her with 50 naira that if she keeps quiet, they will give her 50 naira. She rejected these funds, and that's why we specially recognized her. What was interesting to me was that subsequently this girl had to change her school because she was bullied by the 2 boys in her class for the rest of that term. They would follow her and walk behind her all the way when she's walking home after school, threatening to injure her. We're talking about primary school children. So how do value systems, how have they broken so much that we don't even know what is right or wrong as early as age 8? And that takes me to parents. My goodness, Nigerian parents, I am pleading with you. We cannot give up the role of parenting to churches or schools or to society, because you have the primary responsibility for building leaders who will lead us well. Parents have relinquished that responsibility. And so children are not, the values that we would have gotten at home prior to now do not exist any longer.
Well, but the challenge I even have is whether those parents have those values, whether the parents you are referring to. We have a lot of people that are becoming parents, but quite honestly, they don't have the psychological, not the psychological, the moral, the spiritual, the ethical maturity, development to be parents. But that is the reality today, which is why when I go to schools, I tell teachers that their primary task is that of re-parenting children that have not been properly parented. I go to the universities, and that's what I tell the functionaries in the universities, that your primary task is re-parenting, because a lot of the people that have been sent to you have not been properly parented.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. In part of what we do is also work with PTAs, and we're trying to equip parents with the tools to begin to instill values at home. Practical examples, practical quizzes, practical games that they can do to engage their children at home. But we found that the uptake of the program was probably the slowest across all our programming, because parents were not really interested. And we did that because when we were training teachers and school owners on integrity standards in schools, their primary complaint was that the parents themselves do not want integrity.
They don't want integrity.
It is the parents who are asking the schools to become special centers. They are the ones who are asking if they can pay for them to give their children cheats during external examinations. It is the parents that are paying for their children to go to special centers to write JAMB and WAEC. It is the parents that are insisting that children cheat to pass examinations. And it is such a
That's
serious
what I'm saying.
problem.
That's what I'm saying, that there are many parents today, there are many people going around and calling themselves parents today that don't have what it takes to be a parent.
Absolutely.
So, this one you are saying that you discovered that before children come to school, they are supposed to have gotten these values at home, and I'm saying many homes. So it means that we all now need to assume that responsibility. If we want a better future, we need to assume the responsibility. True, one of the things you mentioned in the earlier version of our discussion is social sanctioning.
Yes.
How do we popularize that notion that the society can decide that this is not a good behavior, and we name and shame people who conduct themselves in that way?
Yes.
In the way that is not good for us as a society.
And I think we can take a cue from other parts of the world where this has been practiced widely. But society has to determine what behaviors are acceptable and what behaviors are not. And I think that's still where this fight is as a nation. The soul for the nation is still in deciding who are we as Nigerians and what values define who we are as Nigerians. If we're able to clearly state that, then as a society, and there are still some things in Nigeria that are unacceptable. We still, across the country, you don't hear homosexuality as being accepted. Murder is still generally condemned. But there are just certain things that we have seeded and said, maybe this is a little bit okay. We need to stand firm on if corruption and stealing is bad. But again, sir, like you're saying, like I said in the last episode, the people don't make a connection between values of today and values tomorrow. In the schools we go to, we tell children that if you begin to cheat in your examinations today and you are bullying your classmates and you are discriminating your friends in school based on your tribe, based on where they are from, if you are in a position of power, those values are only amplified because you've established them early on. We're not able to see that taking your child to a special center to cheat to pass an exam today is already preparing them to cheat tomorrow.
For armed robbery
tomorrow. And so sometimes, again, as parents, as teachers, we are not seeing the connection with the values that we are teaching children early on and how that trains them into the adults that they become today.
So we definitely need some kind of concerted efforts to build and popularize what could be called core national values.
Yes.
Core national values: justice, equity, fairness, transparency, integrity, honesty is the best policy. To actually adopt a few of them, like 5, 6, 7, 8 such, and let the work of National Orientation Agency.
I was going to that next, yes.
Let the work of schools. So I don't just teaching history, teaching mathematics, teaching geography. You can produce smart. You can produce smart crooks. So what are the values that can be incorporated in these subjects that you teach? Okay, literature. What values?
Kind of texts, yes.
What kind of texts that you are using? And then they are trying to reintroduce history in many places, though they can't find teachers. But so what are you teaching in your history lessons? What are you teaching so that by the time people go to school, they are not only hearing from home where it is possible, but from school and from church and from mosque.
Yes.
And from films. And from skits.
Another thing we must do, and I was going to National Orientation Agency in that we have a responsibility to give children good role models. When we go to schools now, who do you want to be like? It's musicians, it is actors,
celebrities,
it's skit makers,
celebrities that may not have the kind of
values that you are trying to
exactly.
They are entertainers,
but they may not have these values.
So I think we are responsible. And one, I would say, National Orientation Agency, we need to have a weekly spotlight on television stations, on newspapers, on radio,
social media platforms
of individuals who are thriving from doing the right thing, because they exist. Unfortunately, the narrative is that Nigerians are all corrupt because the noisiest people, the flashy people, the noisemakers, people that are in our faces are people like that. But there are many hardworking Nigerians who live well, who are happy, and they've done this from living right. But their stories are not told.
Who are contented, you know. I mean, we need to go, for example, and tell stories of headmasters in villages.
Yes.
Retired headmasters, people who worked for 35, 40 years and are contented with little, and then they invested in the children of the village. We need to tell
And who
their
they
stories.
have become as a result of that sacrifice. Yes, sir. So
Yes.
I think we need to give young people better role models. For now, we are not, because all their influences, which include movies, which includes music, and even from the school sector, they do not have the role models that they can look up to and say, I want to be like this
You are very
person.
correct, because even let's say within the Christian church, for example, space is given for celebrity pastors, but there are pastors in villages across the various denominations that are doing excellent work. So this whole, you see, the power of the digital media, the fact that they are city-based, a lot of people who are active on social media are city-based, and space is given for news about celebrities, whether a celebrity pastor or a celebrity musician or celebrity whatever. But there are thousands of quiet pastors in villages that are doing good work.
Better trained.
Doing good work. And as we're talking of parents, there are wonderful parents, there are wonderful teachers. Teachers in primary school,
Yes,
teachers in secondary, doing excellent work.
Yes.
But they don't get ahead.
Yes, yes. And they don't get seen. We are thankful for these people because the quiet work that they are doing influences the little. But of course, it's small people in their communities, small people in their schools, but it does not have that widespread access, that widespread reach that some of the negative values that are being put. When I look at our music videos today, I cannot believe it. We're showing naked people on the screen for young people to watch. And as parents, we are leaving the television there and allowing children to watch these things without concern. But you still expect them to watch that, to be discipled by that, let me use that word, but go out and still do the right thing later on. We are transformed by everything in our society.
We are told of parents who sit down with their children to watch some of these reality shows where all the things, the values we are talking about have been flung through the window, and parents sit down, and parents cannot see that that what they are nurturing, it's a jungle culture that we are nurturing.
Yeah. And I hope, finally on the parents matter, I hope that we see the connection again. We say we want better leaders. We say we want leaders with integrity. We are responsible for raising who those leaders will become in the next 20 years. And if we fail in our responsibility to raise those leaders now, your children will be the leaders that people are complaining about and cursing today if you do not take up that responsibility to nurture leaders who have integrity.
When I go to secondary schools and I ask them, how many of you want to be teachers? Especially elite secondary schools. How many of you want to be teachers? You can be in a set of 140, and maybe one or maybe none wants to be teacher. So actually, I have found myself on one occasion or two occasions getting quite angry and say, you know what? If none of you smart children, privileged smart children wants to be teachers, your children will be taught by idiots. Because you will send your children to school.
Yes.
Your children will be taught by, because if people who are very smart, okay, you go to the university, if none of the first class and second class upper want to be teachers, then people you'll be left with people who cannot find any other job to become teachers.
Yes.
And the way today's middle class parents are raising their children want to be professional footballers, they want to be entertainers,
YouTubers.
They want to be, and so on. Well, I hope you know that the societies that people are running to today were not built by celebrities. They were built by philosophers, people who were thinking. They were built by people who spent time, and many of them never made money.
Any recognition for it, yes.
Yes. But they knew that society grows great when leaders plant trees under whose shade they know they will not sit.
Yes, amazing.
And I say, in this country, those who are in leadership positions are planting pawpaw, are planting banana that they can harvest the next year. But true leaders plant Iroko trees.
The next generation.
They plant Iroko trees, oak trees. I mean, the oak tree can take 25, 30 years and it's just like this. But it will last 300, 400, 500 years.
And as civil society, as we are, I think we have to take responsibility for filling in the gaps that we see in our society. If religious organizations are failing, if teachers are failing, if parents are failing, if the education agencies are not taking as seriously this call to ensure that the next generation are learning the right things, then we must take up the responsibility to fill in that gap in the areas where we see them. And it can be tiring work. It's not rewarded as much as we would have hoped it would be, but I think I want to encourage civil society that we are necessary.
Did you hear yesterday at our meeting, recent meeting, that there is fatigue, there is weariness? I think it came from my group that there is weariness and fatigue among civil society people, agents. There's a weariness and fatigue. We cannot give up.
Yeah.
And we will end this segment of our discussion on that note, that we have to keep working, believing that the future can be better.
Yeah.
But the future will be better if we start planting the good seeds today. And the networking that some of these agencies are trying to do is very good step in the right direction, because alone we can't achieve much.
Yes.
I've been speaking with Feranmi Iyanda, right?
Yeah.
Feranmi Iyanda, Program Director, Step Up Nigeria, concerning values for nation building. How do we build a better society if we do not work on values? We pray that Nigerians, especially Nigerians in key positions, whether in private or public enterprise, will see the dissemination of core national values very, very important, so that in 10, 15, 20 years' time, we will not be lamenting like this, that we will have a better country.
That's the hope that we have.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.